Good morning, everyone. We can call this meeting to order. Roll call, Jake, please.
Can
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone. If we could do roll call, please.
Keisha Johnner,
Here.
Mark Ramey,
Here.
Steve McCombs. Here.
Entertain a motion for today's agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend today's agenda, item number 1, to include discussion and action.
I don't think that we can do that
Yeah, we can do that.
because of an action item. We did not give 24-hour notice.
Well, but I submitted it in advance to the auditor and it was not included on the agenda.
Counselor, do you have any thoughts on that?
To my understanding, the board doesn't have any bylaws necessarily that explain this, so I'm not sure that I can weigh in on the board's procedure of that. I can take a few moments to address this issue the best I can from here if you would like me to do so.
Well, I guess the question is, why wasn't my request included on the agenda as I sent it in on Friday or Thursday?
Because I sent in one earlier and said discussion only as chair.
How come I wasn't notified of that?
You were notified.
No,
Yes, I
not.
was. I did send it out.
Jared, would you take a look at that?
Pause, everyone.
How's it going, Jared?
It's going okay. I mean, this is a sort of a complex question. I can continue to work on this, but I don't, it's going to take me a few minutes to.
No, I don't want to,
whether
I don't
the
want to make
notice
you,
requirement-
I don't want to delay people sitting here. Not our usual practice to not send the agenda out to the supervisors ahead of time to review. So I'll withdraw the motion, Jake, but with objection.
Do I have a motion? to approve today's agenda.
I move we approve today's agenda.
I'll second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
On to item number 3, which is communications. We have received countless emails, calls, even letters of whether it's support or opposition for the Pella Rec Center. Or do you have any other?
Nope. Appreciate everybody sending in their comments. That's a great display of what this is for. So thank you for the comments for and against. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I too have received too many communications to even talk about. It's just way too many of them.
On to item number 4, which is the public comments. This is the portion of the agenda during which any public comment can be made that is not on the agenda below. So if you're here to hear a comment, public comment that's not on the agenda, please come to the podium. Any online? Okay. No. On to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion for today's consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
On to business. Today is the discussion regarding the city of Pella and the Pella Rec Center, continued discussion, and I'd like to kick this off. I think it's important that we do what is called a recap of what Pella is asking. Make sure that everybody understands. From the last meeting, they're asking for a $10 million urban renewal bond from the county. Top of that, there was the local option sales tax discussion, which would be a 20-year extension agreement of what the county currently has an agreement. This currently the county gives 8% more of our portion from the county. So this does, Pella receives their regular portion. We at the county have an agreement. We give them 8% of our portion. I need to make sure also that people understand what that dollar figure looks like. Conservatively, that's $440,000 a year in local option sales tax. If I times that times 20, that would be $8.8 million. Again, they're asking for a $10 million urban renewal bond in the county, and then also the extension of local option sales tax. So if I have my numbers correct, that would be 10 million plus 8.8, which is 18.8 million, or approximately 37% of the Pella Rec Center. That is a huge ask. Let's dig deeper. The urban renewal bond pays for the University Street extension. The price tag is 7.6 million. That's what we agree. The city of Pella is asking 10 million. I have no idea what the other 2.4 million is for, other than they say the rec center. Do we have costs of what this building is going to even maintain? I have not yet to receive that. The land to extend University Street. The ground has not been secured. I am in no way in favor of eminent domain, especially when there is currently a road into the proposed site of where the Pella Rec Center is being built. Some additional thoughts. On July 1st, there will be a property tax reform bill going into effect. We have no idea how this is going to affect us. I have been in communication with the state, our local legislators, trying to get a better understanding. I cannot get anything in writing on regarding what the implications are. Also, what it's going to do with bonds. There is a lot of communication out there, and the fiscal note talks about bonds being put to a vote. And another item, people have stressed to me, let us vote on this. And I can't disagree with them. This is a $10 million ask. And I don't think that it is reasonable for us three to make that decision.
Well, thank you. Steve, you got anything?
I have a question for Mike or the mayor. The Aquatic Center and Boss Landon and your current ambulance, are they currently running at a deficit?
We should get the mic. We should get the mic, Mike. Sorry.
Supervisor McCombs, that is correct. All three entities, the Boss London Golf Course, the indoor, I believe, or aquatic center, as well as the Pele ambulance are all currently operating at a deficit.
Well, I struggle then to add to, I mean, not knowing, do you know how this new rec center would be staffed and how the physical maintenance of the building will be taken care of monetarily?
What we've done is we've made staff estimates. We've actually got a 10-year operating pro forma for the recreation center that we work with our financial advisors, Mr. Michael Maloney, on the rec center. So we've done a 10-year financial pro forma on the building, operating cost on that as well.
The current aquatic center, or what? If you were to ask county to help fund this new project, is it correct? Am I correct in thinking that the non-residents pay a higher fee than residents in the aquatic center?
That's with the current aquatic center. I believe the fees of our recreation programs are currently higher for non-residents. That's at the discretion of the Pella City Council on it, as far as the fees charged for the rec center and whether there'll be a non-resident. Please keep in mind that our financial projections at this point have been limited to the staff and our financial advisor. We've shared the overall results with the Pella City Council on it, but as far as the rates, those would need to be approved by the Pella City Council.
But we don't know what that is. So, yeah,
As far as the rates,
yeah.
that's yet to be determined on our rates, what we have. But when we did the staff projection on it, we used recreation centers, our workout facility rates and membership rates as a benchmark in Pella. And we feel they're very comparable to the existing rates right now, what's being charged currently.
Was there ever a market study done to determine the level of demand and the commitment by the community for this project?
As far as, excuse me,
Pardon me?
could you repeat your question, please? I didn't hear the first part, please.
So was there ever a market study done to determine the level of demand and commitment by the community for this project?
As far as the public feedback that we've had, and Mayor DeWard, you may want to answer this or chime in on this as well. We have had an ad hoc advisory group that has assisted as far as that is the demand for the recreation center, and we have sought input from the Pella Community School District as well as Pella Christian High as well.
Why do you not use your own bonding capacity?
Excuse me.
Why do you not use your own bonding capacity for this new rec center? And
We believe the rec center is going to have benefits outside of the city of Pella. If you recall during the presentation that we gave during the last meeting, we've had a consultant that looked at the economic impact of the construction value of the rec center and University Street. On that, I believe I may be a little bit off, but to the state of Iowa, it was roughly $99 million, 700 jobs during construction on it. As far as Marion County, I believe those numbers are right at a $65 million impact to just Marion County was the estimate on that. As far as the tournaments and the activities that we have in the outside groups, we believe the benefits of that are going to be far outside of Pella. The annual estimated impact for the tournaments is roughly about $5 million annually. So to answer your question, why we believe we're seeking a partnership on this is we believe the benefits of the recreation center are going to extend past the corporate limits of the city of Pella. Mayor DeWard, do you have anything to add on that?
what I'm struggling with is when I look at future needs for, we represent all of Marion County. And I'm struggling with our future needs for infrastructure on how we were going to fund that, and not knowing what the bonding issue is going to come to be in the future. And I'm struggling with this as far as the money. I'm an old road worker from way back, and we have roads that need addressed. I'm struggling with this money on where it would be best used. And I'm getting that from a lot of people, why we're not using this money on roads. And I struggle with that. I really do. It's a tough one for me, Mike. And how do I answer these people? And obviously, I'm not against the rec center. Don't get me wrong. I'm just kind of struggling on how to fund that, because to me, if it's like everything else we look at, if we don't have roads, good usable roads, everything else is a moot point. If you can't get to point A to B, it's a moot point what you have if you have no roads to get there. And I'm struggling with that.
Understand the concerns, and what I'd also like to state, speaking of roads on it, as far as the overall request and the partnership that's being requested, please keep in mind, as was mentioned earlier, the University Street extension along with Baseline Drives, roughly $7.6 million. That particular road has been shown in the city's comprehensive plan since 2007. It's a preferred growth area on it. So we echo those sentiments. Roads are vitally important, and we believe University Street extension is important as well. And please also keep in mind, with the partnership and the request that we're making, is the community of Pella generates 64% of all local option taxes in Marion County. And as the supervisors are aware, we share our 1 cent with everybody in Marion County. That's the state law. The point being, on our total request, why we're asking for the redistribution agreement to be extended is under the state law and the funding formula, we actually receive 28% of their seats. So when you look at the inequity that we have under the state funding formula, we generate 64% of all local option sales taxes. We receive approximately 28%. And also keep in mind, with the current local option redistribution agreement, the city of Knoxville receives 4% as well. So
That is an anomaly. I've said that before, but we at Marion County do that, and that has been in place for many years.
yeah,
But I don't know of any other county that does that.
I would echo that. And I would also state from the city of Pella's perspective, as what we stated at our last meeting, we're very proud of our partnerships that we've been able to have with Marion County in the past, and we're looking forward to a continued partnership on the Pella Recreation Center as well.
Well, Mike, thanks. I'll add my 2 cents worth to the discussion. So thank you very much for that. So I'm in support of the project, have been since Don and Mike first approached me with this idea, and for several reasons. And not that the reasons that have been articulated are bad, they're fair. Everybody's got to draw their own conclusions on what this means. But we, in all of our projects, whether it's the VA, Prairie Ridge, what we're doing in Pleasantville, all of our projects, from my perspective, have had one common element, that is growth. We're at a demographic crossroads in Marion County, as are all rural counties. And that is, our population has not materially grown in 10 years. So if you go from 2012 to 2022, we've grown less than 400 people across Marion County. Most of our growth has come through Pella. It, as Mike articulated, it is right now the economic engine of Marion County. So what it does is produces both property tax and sales tax revenue that we use, Steve, for roads. And we use that to develop our roads, and we use that to pave roads and the other things that fund our services. Our employers, all of our major employers, are putting up millions of dollars in support of this project. To do what? Attract and retain qualified workers. with a county that has a 1.8% unemployment rate and is not growing in population, that is a material risk to Marion County. And all we have to do is say things like Maytag, the VA, and other things. The days of us saying that it can't happen here are over. We have to be cognizant of the fact that things don't stay the same. And for Marion County, the risk of us losing is greater right now than the risk of us gaining. So we have to think creatively about how we can deploy our capital to bring younger people with families to this county. Pella and Knoxville right now, we've done some great work, some great housing projects. We've had great success with Prairie Ridge, as we showed in our last meeting. And this project fits into that. This is not just a want instead of a need. I would actually argue that if we don't continue to build amenities that attract younger workers, eventually the cost of government. This is the interesting thing. People have talked to me about taxes. I'm afraid my taxes are going to go up. Well, from a financing standpoint for the county, the $10 million is, and it's distinguished from what we do for road operations. It doesn't impact road operations. It's a different funding stream. So when we issue bonds, that does not impact what we do with Tyler. Okay. And we wouldn't want to bond for roads anyway. That would be the worst form of bonding, would be to bond for roads and bridges. If we have to do that, we're in a very, very difficult financial situation. That's Southern Iowa right now. We're not there at all. We're financially very strong, but if we don't increase our population, if we don't retain our major employers, if they don't keep growing here, that won't always be the case. We need to continue to pursue more creative ways to grow our productive population. If we lose people, the cost of government services won't decrease. And if we lose people, we don't have the ability to spread that across our entire tax base and have a larger tax base to work with, which actually lowers your cost of taxes. It doesn't, if you lose population, your taxes can go up. We had this yesterday with our public health department. Social services costs, ambulance, et cetera, are going to increase, not decrease. Why? Because we're aging. So we need younger employees, younger families to bring that median age down. Otherwise, our cost of services will still go up. This doesn't impact that. This actually helps counter that. So from my perspective, that's what this project really is. The $10 million is well within our bonding capacity. It keeps Marion County financially strong, AA3 rated, as Moody's told us. From a bonding perspective, from a tax perspective, we've run the numbers, and we can have Mike Maloney speak to that. It will not materially change our historic levy rate in Marion County because of the valuation that's coming on from Pella. So we have the financial capacity to do these things, and we need to look very seriously about how we can continue those partnerships. Last point is this, and it's really the key element for me, and I mentioned it. If our major businesses are putting millions of dollars toward this, and they're saying it's about employment, attracting and retaining employees, and we as citizens say, now we don't want to partner with you. What does that tell them? I think we have to think long and hard about that. We've seen too many businesses in Iowa, especially in rural Iowa, start and then leave. There's a view that it'll never happen. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. That's not the right way to think anymore. And we can just go over there and look at the old VA project property to get that loud and clear. Businesses leave, and if they have to readjust for people, because that's a key element of what drives their company, we have to seriously consider how we can help them.
I'd also, great comments. I agree, Mark. Steve, thank you. Great comments. But I do think that we have to remember I do agree when you talk about EMS, and that is something that we have to continue to think about. We are being presented with EMS levy. Possibly could be coming our direction. There is a committee, and that would be the taxpayer. It would be a levy. So what would that be? I don't currently know. But then also the debt levy could possibly increase until the ground is secured and developed to pay back the bond. So things that I have to continue to think about.
Mhm.
I know that we have people of public here that are
Well,
wanting to
well,
speak.
Keisha, I want to respond to that. I mean, if you're going to respond to what I'm saying, then I think we get to respond to each other then for what you're saying. There are several things. The legislative uncertainty. We cannot predict what the Iowa legislature is going to do, nor should we plan based on what we don't know and what's going to happen with the Iowa legislature. In fact, politically, if we continue to move forward, if this project has financial merit for our county to continue to grow, I think that gives us a strong political argument with our representatives to not do some of the things that have been proposed by our own party, which would hamstring local government and their ability to develop and promote economic development. So I think that's a positive from our perspective because we're showing we can manage our own affairs. We don't need the state of Iowa to tell us to do everything and how to manage our own money. The second thing from the EMS side, I'm on that group. And yes, there probably will be a request for a levy. The state legislature took mental health away from us, which was a 75-cent levy. They said, we'll take it, we'll put it on our balance sheet. 2 years later, they come back and tell the ambulance services, you can ask for up to 75 cents. Okay. The key issue that you need to think about is not the request for a potential levy, whatever that dollar amount is, it's that our population is getting older. In the year 2000, Iowa's median age was 35 years old. Today, it's almost 40. So if you understand how medians work, that 5-year increase over that period of time is massive. New Hampshire's 44. Maine is 42. If you want to know what our future is, that's our future. And if we don't change that metric and start to bring that down, you're right, we'll get requests for ambulance levies and other types of social services levies because the population is aging and we don't have enough property tax dollars to spread across it. We need to increase our valuation, which means we need to have a growing county to do that, to afford those types of services. We're working on a restructuring plan for EMS right now so that we can consolidate back office services, save some money, and not have that be as high a levy request. If a levy request is needed at all, we don't know that answer yet. But I don't think we should be thinking in fear. I don't think we should be afraid to take risk. When our forefathers came here, they were not afraid to come in wagons and take risk. And for some reason, we've started to be afraid of things. When we have the financial capacity, if the project has economic merit, if it doesn't impact our current operations and will not materially alter our tax levies, especially for the county, we need to seriously consider the worth of these projects. As far as what it means to, the individual within Marion County, I think it's a hopeful project for the future. It's not just Pella that can benefit from this. It's what will we look at in Knoxville, other communities within Marion County. We are working on a project in Pleasantville right now to help develop that community. Those are all good things. The state has said they're good things. So why wouldn't we want to at least look at this that way instead of from the fear side? If the state does something different, we'll respond and we'll react. But I don't think we should use that as kind of our lead argument, because we can articulate to the state why we're doing what we're doing. why we're being reasonable about these things.
Everything we've done so far, Mark, though, that we bonded for, to help Knoxville, to help Pella, to help Pleasantville. It's all predicated on the assumption that these projects are going to be successful. I mean, as far as not affecting any property tax. Am I correct in that, thinking that?
Well, I guess can I rephrase that a little bit, Steve? When we did the housing project for Prairie Ridge, we had a housing study
Mhm.
that showed there was a need.
Mhm.
When we did the VA, we had a housing study that showed there was a need. Well, where did the need for housing come from? The desire for more workforce housing. It came from our employers. Our employers said we need it, but there was no guarantee of success. I think we have to be careful how we characterize that. We knew there was a need, but we had to take the risk to spend $10.7 million to demolish the VA. And we sat here as a board and we discussed those things.
Mhm.
And we said, well, we don't know. We
Well, the
don't know
VA
if it's actually going to build those houses.
The VA was kind of a unique
It-
situation
very much
as
so.
opposed to Prairie Ridge or any other one. I mean, we really didn't have a choice in that because the options were not very, very pleasant
No.
for that property.
And I guess I would, I mean, you raise a really good point, but the way I look at it is those things came from our employers saying, we have to have younger workers come here. We have to have housing. Prairie Ridge is a great example of the success of those endeavors. So we've had success, but I wouldn't say that we said, yep, for sure and for certain, we're going to hit a home run on all these projects.
Yeah.
The Pleasantville project, in point of fact, if they don't get a development agreement secured by our next meeting, I may come to the board and say, we may not do it. And that's the last thing not the last thing. I can talk a lot in case you couldn't tell. But the $10 million in our bonding capacity, we're acting as a finance partner because Pella does generate so much economic activity for the rest of our county. So we're coming along recognizing that from my perspective and providing that extra capacity. The issues internally to the city of Pella, securing land, how it's going to operate, those things, that's the city of Pella's deal. That's not our deal. It's not any different than Prairie Ridge, the VA, or Pleasantville. We're not telling Pleasantville how to develop the Adkins project. We're
The
not
ground was
telling,
already secured.
it doesn't matter. I'm not telling Joe you have to do it in a certain way by a certain time frame. If you don't get it done, you don't get dollars. That's how we have done all of our arrangements so far. We've said, we support it. We'll come alongside with some financial support, but you, Knoxville, Pella, Pleasantville, you have to do the legwork to secure the property, the ground, the development. You have to do those things, and we'll turn over control, like we've done at the VA, of a particular development property. We'll turn it over to the city so they can do what they need to do, and their residents can then talk about what that means to their community. I've never viewed Marion County as the lead in the development. We're coming along as a support. And I think that's a critical distinction between some of us here on this board. I represent all of Marion County, but Pella has to manage its own internal affairs the way it wants to manage its own internal affairs. I don't agree that we should be injecting ourselves into that.
Let's go ahead and go on to the community side of this. Is there people here that wanted to make comments? Rhonda Burhow, is that correct? Then why not build in Knoxville? Sorry. Rhonda Burhow is asking, then why not build in Knoxville to bring young families to Knoxville? Pella already has enough to bring families. All right. I don't know who that iPhone 44 is, though.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep moving on. I can't say who it is, so I'm gonna move on. Rhonda, okay, that was. So Mark wants Marion County to grow, Justin Pella, that's from Rhonda Burhow.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and respond to that since that's directed at me.
There's no need for a Pella rec. Okay.
So Rhonda, I'm going to respond to that. Thank you for that. No, I don't just want Pella to grow. I want Knoxville to grow too. Matter of fact, I went to high school in Knoxville, graduated from Knoxville High, have a business in Knoxville. Raised my family in Knoxville. So I want all of Marion County to grow. So the VA project is a prime example of that. I was the one who led that project and brought that to the board. I've been working with the city of Knoxville on how that land would be developed and what's the best use of that property. The towns are in different places. Pella has had a strong economic base for years. With the loss of the VA, Knoxville is now recovering from that loss. And the recovery of that loss is the development of a new housing project on that abandoned property. So they're in different places from both an economic and from a people perspective. Pella needs to continue to grow and build off of what's currently been successful there. And that's what this project does. It builds on that success. Knoxville needs to develop housing. And once that's done and the population grows, then there'll be opportunities for Knoxville to then do other things as well. I mean, just as a commentary, I think that's what their money should be going toward, is going into development of the VA. And if they do other things with those dollars, the residents of Knoxville should speak out. My view, but I'm not going to tell Brian and Heather and the city council how to do that. They need to do that and represent the people of Knoxville. So I hope that clarifies that.
I will say, I do think that if we do this for Pella, there will be other towns that will be in line to ask for
Well,
money.
sure.
So,
The iPhone 44 is Angie Gentry,
oh, okay, it is. All right.
and she would like her question read. You want me
Okay.
to read that? All the way at the top?
If the bond is approved, how does it impact the county's ability to partner with the city of Knoxville or the Knoxville organizations to address the, what's it say there?
Rec and
Field
field and
Field
rec
and rec
shortage.
shortage in Knoxville, especially since Knoxville is physically more centralized in the county.
You guys want to answer that?
I think that we're going to continue to get several different comments. I think we just move on and allow the
Well,
ones that are public.
It's a discussion.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to discuss it. Angie, I guess I'll take it since I know it's from you. How does it impact the county's ability to partner with the city of Knoxville? There will be a limit to what Marion County can do financially. And what I look at is our bond rating. And I'm the one who does the Moody's calls with our bonding agencies, along with Michael Maloney and some of our other financial partners. We are rated outstanding. Our rating agencies have said that Marion County's finances have been managed in an outstanding fashion for a county our size. The number one risk coming from the rating agencies, population. The number one risk is population. We haven't grown. And like I just articulated earlier, that is our most material exposure financially, is population growth or the lack thereof. So there will be a limit, Angie, to what we can do. And there'll be an opportunity.
Are we okay now?
All right. So, sorry,
Okay,
Don. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank
no
you.
problem. Couple things I want to address. That one thing you said, Steve, one thing you said, Keisha. You asked about whether Boss Landon, the swimming pool, you asked about amenities in Pella, whether they run a deficit, and they sure do. The library does, all of our athletic facilities do, Boss Landon does. I think that's what a city provides for its citizens, or amenities, opportunities for entertainment, whatever it is. Now, I'm sure you take a survey of Pella and you'd find that the people that don't golf are upset because Boss Landon is subsidized. People that don't use the library, don't like the library, are upset because we subsidize the library. You know, so that's true. In this case, this facility also will take some subsidization from the city. We believe, based on our cash flow projections, that we can handle it as a city. We've been able to maintain our property tax rate for 22 years because of the growth that Mark has been talking about. Our tax base has grown. So we have not had to raise rates for all those years because we bring in more tax dollars because of the growth in tax base. And that's exactly what this project is about. And I applaud Marion County for being part of the solution to the problem that exists in rural Iowa. Most of rural Iowa, or a lot of rural Iowa, is dying a slow and agonizing death because we don't have people. And Pella and Marion County can be something different because we are a rural county. We are a rural county. And so I applaud what the county is doing. And Keisha, when you talk about the redistribution agreement, and maybe I'm assuming wrong, but by the tone of your voice, you feel like you're almost apologizing that exists. I think we should wear that as a badge of honor.
No, I think the people need to know that it's
Yeah,
out there, because I
but
don't think they fully understand
We need,
what it means.
we need to wear that as a badge of honor because we are the one county in the state of Iowa that's doing that, is recognizing how our larger municipalities that create this sales tax. If you want to get into the real numbers of how much sales tax is created in Pella and how it's distributed throughout the county, I think Calvin Banster had a great
And we all have
last
to be a
time.
part of it. Yep.
And that's because of what happens in Pella. And so this is for the county. And so I think we wear that as a badge of honor. The other thing that I think is something we should be proud of as a county. And when I first became mayor, I heard Mark say this several times. As a county, we need to use our balance sheet. So Steve, that's what we're doing. That's why we're asking for the money from Marion County, because the county has a very impressive balance sheet, very little debt based on the total valuation of the county. And so we're asking the county to use some of that debt capacity to help us on this project. Pella is going to pay for this. This bond will be paid back by property taxes and sales taxes generated from Pella. Make no mistake about it. Rest of Marion County isn't going to pay for this. It's going to come. We have the bond numbers and everything to show that the cash flow will be there to make these payments out of Pella. So last thing, I don't want to go on too long. I went back, I did a little history. I did a little research, because one of the things that was presented to us as a city council at our last meeting was that this ask was creating this anxiety throughout the county of pitting Pella versus Knoxville and this and that. I find no basis in that at all. I went back and looked on, in 2020, it was resolution number 2020-77, in which the Marion County Board of Supervisors approved $4,685,000 in a bond issue for Prairie Ridge in Pella. Look through the minutes. A public hearing is held for all of these. No public comment, no opposition at the public meeting. You may have gotten emails, I don't know. There was no public comment. In 2021, resolution number 2021-54, was the resolution number in June of 2021. You guys approved issuing $11 million in debt to fund the VA project for Knoxville. Again, public comment period in the minutes, no comments. There was no opposition to that.
Well, wait a minute.
You know,
though.
I shouldn't, let me retract that. You may have gotten emails and people talked to you, but at the meeting.
At the meeting,
it
at the
said
meeting,
no
but we
public-
got a lot of emails.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. It said no public or there was no public comment at the meeting. Now that's in the minutes. That's all I can go by. And then on 5/23 of 2023, there's a resolution for $2,750,000 to go to Pleasantville. I know you haven't issued the bonds yet, and there's things that have to work out yet. Those are things that I think we should champion as a county, that the county is doing this. I think I told you at the last meeting, I had lunch with Adam Gregg, the Lieutenant Governor. We talked about this very thing, and it's not happening anywhere else. But Marion County is being proactive in trying to combat the fact, and it's a fact. I want this decision to be based totally on fact, not emotion. It's a fact that rural Iowa is losing people. You know, the hometown I grew up in is pretty much gone. There's no farmers left there. There's no families left there. There's no people left there in northern Iowa. That's happening. We need to be proactive and make sure it doesn't happen here. Now, we're blessed with some incredible businesses that help us get what we need, but I think we cannot take our eye off the ball. We cannot not continue to move forward, or we're going to pay for it in the long run as a county and as a community. Last thing, again, I want this to be based on fact when you make this decision. And I fully understand the easiest decisions to make are the ones you don't have to make. So I know you guys have to make the decision, and that as of this morning for this project, we've got 41 commitments from our big businesses, our little businesses, and several individuals in the city of Pella that have pledged at this point $14,637,500. I beg you to go find anywhere else that a community project is being supported to that level of money in the state of Iowa. I beg you to go find one because I can't. And so if that isn't an indication of the support that the community of Pella is willing to be a part of, there's nothing else I can say about that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Great. Thanks, Don.
There's another question on the,
We're gonna.
you want to hold off on those?
Hi, board.
Hi,
Chris Nestabing, I'm the facilities director here. I live at 1696 Quebec Street. So I typically, as you know, don't step up and talk about things like this. I would tell you, married, father of 4. Hopefully all my children will continue to live in Marion County. I don't live in Knoxville and I don't live in Pella. My vested interest is this county and its survivability. And I hate taxes. I hate paying taxes. The thought of paying more taxes bothers me tremendously. But instead of thinking about myself and how much I hate paying taxes, I really want this county to survive. I want my kids to grow up here. I want to raise my grandkids here. I've thought about this for the last 2 weeks. And if I get a little emotional, it's because I love my family being close to me. Here's the deal. Do we all have to take a little risk? Absolutely, we have to take a little risk. It's how we survive. I manage the county budget. I manage your tax dollars, 801,000 of it. I take it so very serious every single day. Here's the deal. When I get emotional, when I get scared, when I want to fall back up into a hole and tell myself, you know what, it's all about me. I'm a lovely student of history, as Mark knows, as Steve knows, as Keisha knows. I always draw strength from one quote that one of our founding fathers said that I think is amazing. It was Thomas Paine. He said to all of us, for every one of us to think about, if there is to be trouble, let it be in my day that my child may have peace. I want Marion County to survive. If that means I pay more taxes for my kids to stay here, I'm gonna tell you what, I'll pay more taxes all day long, if that's what it comes down. So, there's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Anita Fisher. Pella. I appreciate your time. I do. But what about the people in Pella? What about their taxes? What does that do for Marion County when we have more people moving out, moving to Jasper, moving to Mahaska? You guys aren't talking to people in Pella. You're talking about, all these corporations that are so much in for this. That's fine. Let them give more. Don't put it on us. Don't put it on us. Don't put it on the people of Marion County. You know what we look like? Yes, Mayor, I'm going to respond to you. Yes, we do look like a bully. Pella looks like a financial bully. That's got to stop. Let the corporations, the money where their mouth is. Don't put it on Marion County people. Roads.
So you want me to bond for roads? Is that what you're
Why does it have to
suggesting?
bond for it?
No, I'm asking you, do you want us to bond for roads?
I'm telling you, we need to stop getting the money.
Do
from
you
them.
want us to bond for roads?
I want us to vote.
Well, then take it to Pella City Council and do
Okay.
that.
There hasn't been any transparency, and that's what's so frustrating as Pella citizens. What you guys are hearing is not the total transparent truth. You're not hearing the truth from the people of Pella.
I've got a bunch of I got a lot of emails here.
Right, you know what? And I know where those emails came from because I talked to people.
The negative ones?
Absolutely, negative and positive. I know a lot of people.
Okay, wow.
So what I do, I'm a part of the group of Pella citizens that were concerned. Okay, so
Then-
we
then-
have a lot of people.
Then isn't
So-
that a Pella City Council? Isn't that a Pella City Council issue?
Talk,
Let's
you
let
had a
her talk.
chance.
It's a
Finish.
Pella City Council issue.
So what I'm telling you is you need to be hearing the truth.
What is the truth?
The truth is Pella Community Schools were not interested in participating.
Mayor, is that true?
Not that they weren't interested.
Could you
Hang on, Don.
could you repeat that? Sorry, the people online can't hear you.
I know I had my time to speak, but I'm just responding to Mark's question about the school district. And I said, we did approach the school district about participating in the construction of the project. At this particular time, they're in the process of $56 million physical infrastructure update. So right now, they don't have the money to do it. But they're very supportive of the project. They understand that it will alleviate some of the pressure on them, their gym use and those kind of things. But
I mean, we
No.
did receive positive emails from all the school principals and those folks in the Pella School District.
I'd also like to add that one of the Marion County, or excuse me, one of the school boards members also said, let Pella Corp, Vermeers and other pay for it. That was their response. Also,
I'm assuming the people of Pella then have not had a chance to vote on this.
we did not
Okay.
really. There was no transparency. A lot of people voted for this loss tax because they were told that if they didn't vote it through, they were going to lose it.
Really?
Really? Also, I want to say, I'm hearing all about this. Is it Timber Ridge that was so successful? Timber Ridge?
Prairie Ridge.
Prairie Ridge?
Yeah, Prairie Ridge. That's the one we worked on with Pella.
Okay. So that's out by,
Out west, the west side
Smash
of
Park,
town.
yes.
okay, by Smash Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. That was not successful. That was supposed to be during all those Pella City Council meetings, that was supposed to be for lower lower income housing.
No, it wasn't.
It's
Yes, it
workforce
was.
housing,
Workforce housing was
The
never
what?
intended for low-income housing.
workforce housing.
So that means what?
Workforce housing for
Yeah.
people that work in the city of Pella.
Uh-huh.
That's a good
So-
question.
And initially though, Anita, yeah, it was workforce housing. Prior to the pandemic, it was stated it was supposed to be like 180 to 250,000.
Correct,
It is not in that range currently.
correct,
Yeah, because workforce housing is,
Like
It's
all
gone up.
housing.
correct. So I would not consider that a success.
Well, I mean, how many lots have we sold out there, guys?
there's,
Sorry.
no. There's 50% of lots that are left between townhomes and the lots, so yes.
Supervisor
wrap up.
Ramey,
So-
I believe as of today, Sue, I should be verifying this with Supervisor John, I believe we've approved 56 housing applications for Prairie Ridge.
Out of how many lots, Mike?
It's
90
roughly about.
There's 94, and then there's
94.
going to be possibly 40 townhomes, I believe it is.
That is correct. Yes, out of 94 single-family lots, we've approved applications for 56 housing units.
Okay. So your definition of success and mine are going to differ.
Well, I guess I think if you talk to normal people in Pella, your typical citizens, it didn't look like a success when weeds were that high because they couldn't sell the properties. Also, one more thing, I'll wrap it up, Keisha, like you asked. I just want to say that I wouldn't be having such a problem with this if there was transparency and if there was transparency to you guys as well. And I appreciate, Mark, how you shared your 2 cents, but you really need to be listening to the people in Marion County all over.
Mhm.
Not just big corporations and not just people who want to do what they think the big corporations want.
Well,
So thank you for your time, guys.
thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
And just to respond to that, I listened to all the residents that I can. And I've got a stack of emails here to show that. I actually responded to everybody for those that I did not get responses to, I apologize. But I responded to the yes and to the no's,
Okay,
because I think that's fair. You can have an opposing view as long as it's based, Don has said it very well, as long as it's based on facts.
that's the problem.
and they-
Facts.
Well, facts are stubborn things, is what we're
Facts
told.
are what? I'm sorry.
Stubborn things. And that's what I've tried to approach this with,
Okay.
facts. So I do appreciate your comments,
Thank
Anita.
you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Tony Bakoven, 1702 Neil Drive in Pella. Lots of things have been discussed this morning, and as a former elected official, I know that sometimes it's easy for the, as we like to call them, armchair quarterbacks to tell you how to do your job from the weeds, and today you find yourself standing in the ditch in the thick of those weeds. If you look at Marion County, there's 33,600 people that live in the county, and of those 12,000 and some change, so forgive me of not having the exact number, are registered to vote. And my guess is between the three of you, based off of some things I've read, emails that have been forwarded to me, you've probably received probably near 100 of them,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Out of 12,000 registered voters, that doesn't scratch the surface. And so as my encouragement to you is you can't make your decisions necessarily based off of just those emails. I think the biggest concern across the river in Pella is the lack of transparency. I think there is support for the rec center. As I've said on the record, being interviewed by Mr. Woodhouse, the rec center makes sense if you can afford it. And when we're looking at things like the ambulance service that's been brought to Pella and asked to, supply to the county that we clearly can't afford right now, Mr. Nardini is working every day to figure out how to keep paying the bills that the mayor and council keep generating. And pretty soon the well runs dry, and she's pretty low right now. The transparency that lacks and the badge of honor that the mayor spoke of that he likes to wear on his chest should be the badge of transparency. It was stated many times in city council meetings, and Pella Fiber can provide the audio for you if you'd like to hear it, that a vote for the loss tax was not a vote for the rec center. there were lots of mistruths given about what happens if you don't vote for the lost taxes. Supervisor McCombs, I believe someone addressed to you. That statement was given, that if you don't vote for it, it goes away. Lots of untruths given about that. So we're not here to settle that today. We're not here to talk about that. My encouragement to you is, if you want to show your support for the rec center, show it in the form of letting the people of Marion County vote on whether to give that $10 million. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. If you feel it's right for the county as elected officials, then that's the vote you have to give. But I'm not sure how you can vote on that when the citizens of Pella haven't had the chance to vote on whether that's a viable project for them. A viable project isn't determined by 4 major entities in our community, each giving several millions of dollars. You, Mr. Ramey, have a business in Knoxville, and I believe you have one in Pella.
Mhm.
And so you know that the importance of having community support. There's a reason they haven't given the operating expense for that facility yet. There's a reason. Citizens have been asking at council meetings repeatedly, week after week after week, please tell us what it is. As Mr. Nardini stated this morning, they know what it is, but it isn't good, which is why they haven't given it, because if it was good, they would have been bragging about it. They would have been sharing it. They would have been showing you all the reasons why you should support it, because it's you know, it satisfies itself, but it doesn't. Again, I'm not here to tell you that you should or shouldn't give the $10 million. I'm here today to encourage you to please let the citizens of Marion County vote on whether that's the right thing to do as funds coming from Marion County Board of Supervisors. Again, I appreciate each of you. I know that what you're being asked of today is not easy, but I think the right thing for you to do is to be transparent to the people that elected you, each one of you, and that's to let them vote. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate the comments.
Right, anyone else?
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. My name is Adam Wadley. I'm the planning and zoning guy over at Melcher Dallas. And I haven't followed the story a lot, but I've heard a lot of the buzz. So I thought I would show up today. And based on what Keisha said, I would kind of like to spin off of that. I mean, we're a small community on the opposite side of where all the action is being talked about today. And I guess from my standpoint, like she said, we want to get in line. You know, if we can get some ground secured and get some help with whatever, rec center, aquatic, anything. But you know what? I would feel guilty. I would not want you all to pay for something in my town. I don't think that's right. I think it's asking too much. And the money that's being talked about today, like Steve said, he's big on roads and infrastructure, and who isn't? We all drive on them every day. We're not talking about industry. We're not talking about new business. We're talking about a rec center. And if that rec center was in my town, I wouldn't feel right making all you pay for it. God knows we'd be all over it. It's great. But on the flip side, if that's something that I can stand in line and be eligible for and get some help backing it, I'm there too. So I guess that's my 2 cents. I don't know that you should decide. I think a vote sounds like a good idea. But thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
No one else?
My name is Dale Klein. Apologize for my voice. I understand that this whole thing came about by some of the corporations in Pella making a pledge to get this thing off the ground. Am I correct in assuming that? Okay, Pella Corp pledged what, $6 million? Premier's pledged $5 million, PPI pledged $1 million. Okay, good, then I got my information correct. I was born about 10 miles north of here. The government stole our farm from us. So I moved to Pella, started a business there. It was a very successful business. I sold it in 1998 and moved to Wayne County. Spent 20 years down there and I came back again. Spent 12 years on the Pella City Council. During that period of time, Gary Vermeer decided to build an indoor swimming pool. He did it. His building crew built the building. After it was back in operation, we found out there were some deficiencies there. We had a major humidity problem in there. So Mark DeYoung and I went out and visited with Mr. Vermeer. And Mr. Vermeer knew why we were there because we had to do some major updating on that facility. And he pushed his chair back away from his desk, arms folded like this. And I thought, man, we're in trouble now. So we explained our situation. We needed some money to control the humidity in the indoor pool. Mr. Vermeer was gracious enough to say, all right, I'll give you $150,000 to correct that problem, but don't come back to the well again. But thank you very much, Mr. Vermeer. I know people that use that facility today, and they brag about it constantly. And this rec center we're talking about is a new indoor pool. Now, I don't know what's wrong with the old indoor pool today, but we don't need to duplicate our facilities. Now, Pelicorp gave pledged $6 million. Vermeer's pledged $5 million. Pelicorp's annual sales is 2.2 billion. Vermeer's sales is on the verge of $2 billion. Now, do you guys know what 25% of $2.2 billion is? Do we have any mathematicians in the audience? All right.
You have it, Dale. What is
I don't have it either, other than the fact that I know that if you take 25% of that, that would give you your gross profit. Okay, being in business, I know that that's a good figure. Now, if Pelicorp would back that down to 22% and give 3% to the city of Pella, you know how much that would be? If my math is correct, it would be $65 million. I think Mr. Ward needs to go talk to Mr. Yagi. Since they're in favor of it, if they want it to draw new employees, qualified employees, let them pay for it. Thank you very much.
Do we have anybody else? Hang on, we've got Mary's coming right now.
Hi, Mary Van Burkham, 86197 Place, Pella.
Hey, Mary.
My question is, how can you afford the new pool or new rec center when you can't really take care of the one that you already have? And you can't always fully staff it. We have an awesome outdoor pool. Lazy River has big slides, has the kids pool. I would say it's probably the nicest one around, and it already does attract people from all over. But in the past year or two, then one of the fish slides in there for the kids has collapsed. It has not been repaired. There were 3 toys in there, I would call them, I guess, floatables that the kids would play on, and they have all since been removed for not working, I assume. The Lazy River had buckets that the kids could go under and it would tip on them and spill when they went through the river. They had a waterfall under the bridge, and they have all been shut off for apparently not being able to be working and apparently not being able to be fixed. I don't know if that's the lack of money is what I understand. The hours are now like 9 to 5 and they are closed on Sunday. if you want to draw people to a town, I would think that that would be, Sunday would be a day you would want it open. In the past, the pool would be open longer. It would be open evenings, and they used to have it where you could rent the pool between 8 and 9 or 9 and 10 o'clock at night for parties, for churches, school groups, or your family parties, whatever. In the past, sometimes because there was not enough help, the lazy river and or the big slides and or the kids pool, and you'd have to be going to the pools, I know what I'm talking about, and use it. They would be closed, and that would be a lot of times on Saturdays, which is the weekend, which is when families go there, when your mom and dad come with the kids, you know. Well, if the things are closed then, and sometimes during the week, you know, you're paying for the facility and people come and then they can't use most of it. It doesn't attract people of any income if they're not open. If they are too costly now, and they are costing you money, then how come you can afford, or how do you afford to maintain and pay for new ones, bigger facilities? And how can you get enough help to keep it going? A lot of times they were closed because you didn't have the help. And you talked also the last time on the meeting about the ball fields, and they are very nice and they are open on weekends a lot of times. But there are things there that are not finished. I think there are things that should be done. The road, I think Keisha referred to one of the roads there. When you come in, if that road was finished or went farther north, people could park and get easier access and have more parking in the area to the two fields that are on the farther east end of the complex. Because right now, for a lot of people, it's harder. It's a long ways to walk to get there. And parking is a little bit of a problem. But that road is barricaded, so you can't pull up and park there at all. They don't have bleachers there, and they've been using those for a long time. They don't have bleachers there or anything like that to be used. It would be nice to have a facility like the one you're talking about. It's just that you need, sometimes there are other options for it, or you need to wait till you can afford to do it. You want to build it to draw people to Pella. Pella has a lot of good amenities here that draw people here. It has small town appeal, yet it's close to the big cities, so you can get to things like that. We have unique, great stores, shops, great schools, churches, a safe place to live and raise a family, and without the crime rate of the big cities. So we do have a good draw there. Knoxville does too. We are in a good county.
Hey, Mary, I'm gonna, not to be rude, but I'm gonna
Okay.
probably have to cut you
I
short, so.
just, at the end, I just want to say, I want to know how much it's going to cost to maintain it, because we don't get to find out. And where is your help coming from when you can't get it now? And why is it being rushed so much? And why not put to a vote?
Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
That would be it. Thank you.
Steve, did you want to go?
My name is Stephen Everly. I've been a lifelong resident of Marion County. I was actually born in Pleasantville when Pleasantville had a hospital. So you have to really be old to understand that. It was a 5-bed hospital run by one doctor, and his wife was a dedicated nurse. And there was actually 3 doctors in Pleasantville when I was growing up. Things have truly changed. Life here has completely changed. My dad was, we moved to town because he got tired of driving back and forth to Des Moines. He worked for the VA there. He came to Knoxville, worked at the VA. I watched politicians destroy the VA over my entire lifetime. In the midst of problems we have with veterans, they closed one of the best mental institutions in the state of Iowa. And I have still suffering from pneumonia, so if I cough a lot, I apologize. I've watched a lot of projects go on. Some of them I've been a great fan of, others I am not. I'm going to address taxes first. I've lived in the same house for 47 years. I put a lot of money in it because it was an actual dump. My mother said to me when I moved in, why don't you blow down the house and live in the barn? It's in better shape. 2 years ago, they raised my tax assessment, not the property value of my house, to $312,000. This year, the new assessment of my property is $665,000. This is where this is going. Whether the rest of you understand it or not, we are in a malaise that we didn't see since Jimmy Carter and inflation. Governments have to learn to live within their budgets. And they have, and you are bound to get the most bang for your buck with the least amount of influence and least amount of payment. Borrowing money sounds like a great idea. I once had a friend of mine who was going broke, and he told his wife she had to quit spending money. And she says, why is that? He says, because we don't have any. She says, I have a check full of checks and I have 5 credit cards. I have all the money in the world I need. And I look at politicians, very similar. What most of the people that work for a living with their hands in Pella, in Pleasantville, in Knoxville, is housing. Reasonable housing. Reasonable housing is very difficult to come by. The cost of putting up a house is up around $200 a square foot and even more. So you're talking about a 900 square foot house if you're lucky enough to put it up for $180,000. That's one of the biggest problems we're having. It's not whether your kids get to run down a slide, because they've had those amenities, and cities are not very good at taking care of property. They're really good at running the lifespan out of a piece of property and destroying it and build a new one, because maintaining something requires a day-to-day process. I've been involved with the mistakes on the rec center here in Knoxville. It was poorly designed. They've had to do various upgrades. But right now, the property behind Walmart that my son is currently involved with, we are doing the construction portion of it, is extremely needed in Knoxville. I have a young daughter with 3 kids and her husband. They live in what was called affordable housing.
Hey, Steve, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have affordable housing in Pella because if you're a one income family, it doesn't exist. We have a similar problem in Knoxville. I am against this because I think it's eminent domain is the reason the county's involved, because they don't have secured the right to the property. So they're coming after you with your support. It'll be eminent domain, and I am totally against any eminent domain. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. All right. We're about ready to wrap this up. How many do we have? Okay.
Thank you. Harry Ehrlich, live
hi,
at 725 Countryside Lane in Pella. And I appreciate all the dialogue and all the discussion that we've had today, because I've learned a lot from you. I've only been in Pella for 4 years. I retired, I hate to say this because people said, from California, and came here because I have family here. So people kind of chuckle at me when they hear that, but I love the city. I love the county. The services overall are excellent. I have 32 years of municipal service experience. from administrative to management, capital projects. Been involved in about $250 million in capital projects and worked with cooperatively between cities and districts and counties. But my initial involvement was was back in the budget process and looking at the property tax as well as the issue of the budget. And I've talked to Mr. Nardini. He was good enough to give me a call and talk about it. My concern is the $12 million that is earmarked for the city, which is then designated to be bonds, which would then become $18 million over 20 or 30 years, which would be from the LOSST separate funding from what you're talking about today. But my point is with this, and I'm not an expert on urban renewal bonds here, but if it's on that specific project that was pointed out at the last meeting, it's all agricultural A1 out there on the east side of the city, not slated for development yet, but we'll put a major road through it and a water line through it. And so development will occur. The owners of those properties will benefit longer term. The short term, the city will benefit. And I agree with the mayor that we need to develop the property tax base, but I kind of see us doing this a little bit backwards. And I think that the contributions from Vermeer who had the most successful year ever financially, and Pella, it's good that what they've stepped up with, but to put $18 million over 20 or 25 years on the residents, I don't think people understand that where the property tax and where the LOSST taxes are going to go, because it's about half. And now the urban renewal monies will be on top of that. And I think in another context, that would probably be good, but I think that we're building a facility or planning to build a facility that's maybe 25 to 50% bigger than what is supportable. And even in our county, and we're on the border of Mahaska County, they would benefit from the standpoint of the residents and stuff. We're talking 55,000 people. Where I worked and we built an aquatics facility and we built parks, et cetera, we had 100 to 200,000. And we built, a $30, $40 million system. So I just had the concern that I think on a 2 or 3 years out when this thing is, if it's built, when it's built, and I've asked about the operations and management cost of it. I haven't seen a report. I saw the general comments from Mr. Nardini, but I've asked for a copy of those reports because I think it would be helpful to understand the longer term. When I was an elected official on a water board, we did a 15-year forecast of impact of financing. And we found out we had to finance over years. We couldn't do it all up front because we had to layer it in. And I think that's a possibility here, or we're going to have to phase out other work like roads and parks. We have $25 million in the next 5-year CIP. Part of it with LOSST, part of it with general obligation bonds, which haven't been sold yet. So there's more taxes to come. And I'm concerned with that. But I'm also supportive of providing the services and the facilities we need. And yes, I pay taxes on a $400,000 house currently assessed. And I'm happy to pay those taxes. And I like the city that we're in. So I want to work to see that continue. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Harry. Appreciate it. All right. I think we're going to board if we no further comments.
You still have comments online.
What do we have? How many do we have? Mike Roberts. Are all three board of supervisors in favor or against eminent domain for this project? Well, Mike, I have stated that I'm not for eminent domain.
I am not for eminent domain either.
Nobody up here has ever been for eminent domain.
How does Pella intend to get land that is not for sale? Please tell us your plan if the owner will not sell.
Well,
We don't have that.
point of order, though, that's a Pella City Council discussion. That's not a Board of Supervisor discussion. We're being asked to provide funding, not decide this issue for the city of Pella.
I would like just to make a little bit of a comment, though. When you partner on an urban renewal, I think the perception we would be partnering. Don't know that people would fully understand that.
I think people
So-
understand a lot. I think we have to keep these things separate as to what our responsibility is versus the city of Pella.
Okay, what do we got here? We're gonna stop. Okay, so. Obviously, this is a discussion and, there is no action. I do think that, we as a board can discuss how we feel, whether this moves forward. I have stated before that the people are asking to vote. I don't see that as being wrong. When we're talking about a county-wide, and it is for a rec center. I don't know if you have any comments, Steve, or.
I don't have a problem with the people voting if that's what they want.
I think, are you talking a city vote or a countywide vote?
Countywide vote.
Yeah, I have issues with that. I don't think this, like I said, it doesn't fall into any different bucket for me than our other projects. Timing is an issue. Voting delays the timing of projects. And like I said, I don't think we have a lot of time to waste. I think people have talked about the corporations in a very negative way. I'm kind of shocked by that, considering the amount of money they put into the city of Pella and the tax base that they provide and the employment they provide. And it wouldn't matter whether it was 3M or Weiler or any of our other businesses. We should be proud of our businesses, not negative towards them. So if they're willing to put up this kind of money, in addition to all the other money they have put forward, I think we have to at least consider that as to be a good faith effort that they want to continue to grow and prosper in our town.
And I don't necessarily feel like there should be a rush. We did when we talked about Junction 92. It's 3.5 years it's taken us to be able to get to the point. So I do think that we need to continuing to fundraise is not an issue. But as I said before, for me to move it forward, I think it's got to go to a vote. And if Steve, you're in agreement with that, then I think at this point, that's where we're at.
Is that
Vote meaning a county-wide vote. All people would vote.
No, I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of the expense for that. So.
And the county-wide vote, depending upon July 1st, what that ruling would be.
Jake, what would that look like? A countywide special election on
It
this issue?
couldn't be a special election.
Or
Okay,
whatever
so-
you call it. Who cares?
Off the cuff, unofficial, we just talk about election process. So this has come up over years with different topics. So an actual election or a vote there are specific reasons within the Code of Iowa that has to be met. You're asking a specific question. So an actual vote or election is not a poll or an opinion. It is a vote on something. So there needs to be, if it's a GO bond issued for a new school or a project, it comes to the voters as that. If comes to the voters as a continuation of a local option sales tax, the question is a local option sales tax. There's a question coming up in November of 23 regarding the structure of the library, the oversight of library. That is a specific question that is allowed by code. So whatever we talk about here for a vote needs to fit the Code of Iowa for the reasons for that. Then within that falls in timelines. Is it eligible for a special? Who votes? Those types of things. So it's the jurisdiction that is calling for the vote. It has to fit the Code of Iowa for the correct language and question, which then also is it a 50% passage? It is a 60% passage. So depending on if it's for urban renewal or versus just a straight GO, that type of thing, it all has to be determined before it can be stated when a vote can be by what jurisdiction, because whoever calls the jurisdiction then also defines who votes. So I
Appreciate
don't have a
that.
direct answer, but
Yeah,
that's
no,
all the
that's
things
helpful.
that need to
That's-
be addressed. I understand people wanting to vote, but there are specific processes and reasons that have to be determined for that. And there's nothing on the table for that right now.
That was just discussion. So, all right, no further comments? Entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Second,
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
aye.
Ramey?
Thank you, everyone. On to item number 2, which is the Knoxville Memorial Hall repairs.
Hello, everybody. Gonna have an exodus here. This is your chance. Take it while you can get it.
Hi, Dick.
You ready?
Yeah, I think we are. We just didn't want to
Okay.
cause a bunch of commotion here. So, all right.
I'm Dick
And Mr.
Reed.
Nesterby, are you sticking around? Okay, okay. You're gonna stick around for this? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Great, I appreciate it. Okay. Dick,
I'm Dick
before
Reed.
us-
I live at 118 North Park Lane. I'm on the Memorial Hall Board. We need repairs and I guess
hang on, what's it going? Got to lean into the mic there. Thought we turned these mics up, but
oh. Okay,
awesome.
and my name is Dick Reed. I live at 118 North Park Lane Drive in Knoxville. I'm on the Memorial Hall Board. It's in need of repairs, and I think you folks got a bid.
Correct. Concerning the roof and currently what you have, we did have our facilities manager come in and go through the building and look. And so, yes. So at this point, if Chris, would you like to make some comments on what you were able to find in regarding the roof?
Stay there, Dick. We'll work this out. So yeah, we were approached. My department and I went over, walked through the building thoroughly. It's a sound structure. It's a structure we're saving. Yes, does it need some updating? I.e. the roof. I think HVAC system could be addressed, but the building is in very, very good shape. What we did is I called in McCarty Roofing. They tend to be our go-to roofer. We have a long-standing relationship. They take care of a lot of things for us. Mark went over, got up on the roof, did some core samples, which is a very important step because that gives you a full picture of what that roof is, every layer of it. The sub base layer of that roof was in excellent shape. So we're not talking about a complete tear off on a brand new roof. We're talking about an overlay. The quote I received was, my phone would operate here, $61,300. And what that would give us. Keisha, did you put that slide in?
It's actually 61.8, I believe,
Is it?
Chris. Yep.
Oh, sorry, 61.8.
I don't know that it was in the, no. it
So that
wasn't.
would be prep, that would be mechanically fastened insulation down, that would be a TPO membrane. That TPO membrane we have used multiple times. We get along very, very well with it. So we've used it on the law enforcement center. The courthouse flat roof is what we did TPO membrane on. Public health, we've done a TPO membrane on, and our shop has a TPO membrane on.
How long do those TPO
They're
membranes
usually
last?
guaranteed for 20 to 25 years on commercial structures. What we seem to get out of those is probably more like 40 to 50, especially when they're done properly.
Okay.
So at that cost, I did run some numbers about like a steel overlay, a standing seam and both ribbed, and we were right on that $60,000 to $70,000 range just for material. So I think the TPO membrane, it's a faster installation. It also gives you that layer of insulation underneath of it, which is very important at a building, especially over top of the what we call the recreation area, the gymnasium. We have yet to find an attic entrance for us to get up there and see what the current insulation looks like. Now, I'm told by our roofing contractor that there's a hatch on the roof. I just can't figure out how to get in to the attic.
Hmm.
So we will continue to work on that, try to find that hatch, take a look at the overall insulation of the building, but very solid. I would see no reason not to, in some capacity, try to save this building.
All right. Regarding, Dick, regarding the Memorial Hall Fund, I do know you have some funds.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you've had a meeting yet,
Well,
but
I thought I'd come here first
Okay.
and talk to you folks. And I thought if we could split it half and half, 50-50, it'd leave us some money to do minor. The Memorial Halls is starting to be used by a lot of people in spring and February and March. They're using it for kids, the first, second year of ball, soccer, and we let them use it for free. You
Okay.
know, and so the kids can learn how to bat and pitch and stuff like that. We rent it to Methodist Church. They play pickleball in there. We have a group from Pella comes over on Sunday morning. They play basketball in there. Rent it more in the winter than you do in the summer. But it still doesn't make enough to take care of itself, especially in the winter. I mean, our utilities are around $300 to $3,500 a month.
Any idea what's in that account now?
Pardon me?
Any idea what's in that Memorial Hall account now?
we have it, it's
Yeah,
attached.
you got it right there.
It's roughly, right at 60,000. So Dick, in regarding that, I don't know that I was necessarily at 50-50 just because I do think that it's something that we allow, we appreciate you guys overseeing it. But I mean, and I get to a point where I think that needs to be a little bit of funds, not necessarily taken down to zero. But I don't know that I was at 50-50 when it comes to that, but I'll let the other board speak.
Well, I just, it's the last Memorial Hall in the county and,
Yeah, Jared, have we completed any research on Memorial Halls and how many we have to retain and? Need the floating mic.
All right. I know we've looked at this issue in the past and the code is somewhat unclear about the requirement of a memorial hall. It does say that county funds may be used in order to enact one and maintain it. But I don't see anything in the code or in the case law that specifically requires a county to have one. It just provides the ability, if the board does vote, to provide funds for one.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. What's your number? What's your split? If not 50-50, then what?
Well, I do think that they are continuing to rent it, which is, I mean, it is important, but I'm looking more, I'd have to put the calculator to it, but I mean, if we left them $10,000 in their checking account, that would give them something to have. And then that would be us putting up, our portion. But I don't know, Steve, what do you?
Well, it's technically our building, correct?
Yes,
Physically, it's our building.
it's on our insurance.
the county used to give Memorial Hall money. We haven't had it for a few years, don't need it, but that's what we're using. What,
maintain.
excuse me, what they've accumulated, that's what that money is.
So Chris, 61,000 is the estimate, 61,800?
61.8 takes care of the roof.
Okay. Yeah, I think since it's still technically ours from an insurance standpoint, a liability standpoint, I think getting the building to a condition where we might want at some point to say, does the city want this building, or, change of ownership? I have no problem with 50-50.
No, I have no problem with 50-50 either, since it's technically our building.
So if you would, I think the next step, Dick, would be going to your board
Okay.
and you're gonna have to get something, in
okay.
writing, so
And then
that,
like,
and then we
you're
can come back
saying
and present.
50,000, leave us 10 for.
No,
Can-
no,
No, no.
they're saying 50-50. The board, I come
Okay.
back and said that, and they're coming back and saying they're willing to split it 50-50.
Okay.
So you're spending 30, us spending, 30.
Okay.
so, Okay,
Okay, thank you very
so if you
much.
could visit, so does that make sense? You're gonna have to visit with your board.
Yes,
You're gonna have to give us something in
In
writing, yep. And then we can put it on for the next agenda if you have
Okay.
your meeting then, and we
okay,
can,
yep, I
formally
can
make
have a
that.
meeting by then.
so,
Thank you.
Okay. all right, thank you.
May I make a request of Dick? Dick, can we get a current list of their board, of their commission?
Hey, hey, Dick. Dick, Jake has a request for you.
Okay, can you just, when you send that letter over, can you send the current list of your board members? Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. So just provide that to the board when you have it.
Okay, thank you.
Entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Second,
Item number 3.
McCombs,
Oh, sorry,
Aye.
sorry. I'm moving forward, sorry.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Item number 3 is the Crystal Lake Association firework permit. We have anyone here on behalf of that?
Oh, maybe.
probably
Okay,
not.
well, Chris, you can take it.
Well, I don't know if there's anyone online, but we encouraged them to apply again for this permit as we've done the past couple of years. Because over the past couple of years, the sheriff and I have worked with residents of the Crystal Lake area or Knoxville Estates area. This just provides clarity on what they're doing, and then through our processes, we issue permits for the road closure, which require them to have notification to various residents that will be without emergency access during the actual shooting time. So Sheriff and I have worked in the past on this, and it's all the same as we've done in the couple previous years.
Board, any discussion?
I make a motion, we approve the application.
Second.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Item number 4 is resolution 2023-68. It is the FY 24 Marion County Budget Expense Appropriations.
Jake. It's that time of year. So the fiscal year ends on June 30. Prepared this as a starting point. Appropriations did do that. These numbers on the board reflect 100% appropriations. But before anybody can spend anything or payroll can happen starting next year, we have a payroll this Friday. There needs to be a board appropriation. Not included in the non-departmental is the transfer. So in the work papers that are provided in your packet, the total expense is a little bit different in the non-departmental because we don't appropriate transfers. So the transfer to the secondary road fund, the transfer to the capital projects fund, and the transfer from the lost is not included in appropriation. And also appropriations only deal with expense. So the revenue side of this isn't on this as well. So again, there was discussion over the year about how to approach this. This is what's presented, and however you want to move forward.
So it's right now to 100%
This is 100 month.
or 100% reflected in the chart.
Correct, sir.
Yeah, I would propose a 90% appropriation on expenses,
So
excluding salary and wages, or salary and benefits.
there was one year that, I think it was a 95%, and the
Mhm.
salary and benefits were excluded. So that did happen then. No, I don't know if would be all funds, or because secondary road fund, if that would include all of that, or just how you want to proceed with that before would want to change these or correct these. So all.
I would say
Okay.
all.
I just gotta be clear.
mean,
Tyler, what do you typically, and then sorry, Mark, what do you typically, you're running, is it 90%? What is your?
I'm not sure what
you
you're asking me.
expend of your budget?
No.
Typical utilization of our expense line is around 90. It's been around 93%. It's probably more like 91 or 2 here lately, just because we
some uncertainties with revenue.
Okay.
I've been a little more conservative in our spend throughout the year.
And just so everybody understands, the
Yeah.
proposal for a 90% appropriation, excluding salary and benefits, is just a means by which, once departments hit that threshold on expenditures, then they need to come back to the board and talk about anything over that 90%. So it gives the board an opportunity, if we're concerned about expenses and budgets and dollars, to just have a discussion on that extra percentage above 90.
It's not unlike we've done in the past.
Correct.
I don't know that we've done the 90. I
We've
think
done 95.
Yeah.
Can I ask a clarifying question to that? Would that be per line item or our overall
Overall,
budget minus? the
overall
expense- or
expenses.
Minus the payroll line item?
Overall expenses.
Overall.
I guess I wasn't at 90. I mean, I know that this is one thing that it is difficult when we talk about this, because we go through the budget process and it is a budget, as Jake has stated. I know, Mark, you stated. But when we look at and put these, I think that if we have challenges with certain departments, which currently we have said we haven't, we put their budgets and I think we made very little changes. I think it's for those departments that have, smaller, they don't have the wiggle room. So it is very effective. I mean, it can affect them greatly.
What's
So-
the effect,
Meaning,
Keisha?
like, if you have a smaller budget, you got a one-person department budget, and they don't have a lot of, line items that then, I mean, they're gonna possibly use that up. And yes, they're gonna be maybe coming in here at the end of the quarter, constantly saying, okay, I've gotta add this extra expense. Are you going to allow them to have that extra 10%?
What-
Or are they gonna make them come in and say, oh,
Why
well,
wouldn't you
just-
put every county department under the same level of financial scrutiny? Regardless if they're one
I wasn't-
person or multi-person, because if we're concerned about expenses and keeping an eye on expense, wouldn't we want to have that visibility for that last 10% to at least ask questions? And if you're a one-person department, it's going to be pretty straightforward, right? We budgeted at this amount of money and we're spending it on this. And you say, okay, that's great, thank you, and move on. For larger departments, which is really the issue here, whether it's the sheriff or roads or any of our other multi-million-dollar departments, we have a lot more variability in terms of expenditures. And I think it gives tremendous visibility to the board. It's the same tool Congress does. They don't sit and go through every single line item. They pass appropriations bills. And then if people need more money, they have to come back and ask for more money. So I think it's a great tool for us to monitor expenses, especially as we just got done with Pella. Everybody's concerned about tightening fiscal constraints.
In regards to Tyler and his, I mean, I guess I would go for a 95.
Can I make one other comment? There are some statutory requirements for road departments for your contribution. We've never been near those thresholds.
Yeah.
So, but just
Just so you know.
Just a reminder.
And if you run up against them, they become discussion points, right? You say, hey,
Yeah.
we're up against the threshold. Yeah.
So as a small department, Lisa Sudden here, I have a department of 2. My budget is very small. So all you're saying is, once I let's say you do the appropriations at 90%. I come to you and say, I need copy paper and I need whatever. That's all I have to do is come before you after I spend my 90% and ask you for the rest of it,
Well,
correct?
Yes. And we would look forward, you would look forward. We wouldn't have a meeting where you come in and say, by the way, I'm going to buy another ream of copy paper.
Right.
It would be, hey, I hit my 90% threshold. I think I'm going to need the rest of my dollars to just operate as I budgeted and as we approved. And we would go, okay, makes sense.
just as I would have if I needed a budget amendment.
Correct.
Okay.
Same idea.
Okay.
But for the larger departments, we could actually have a discussion and say, hey, what? Do we really need to do that? Do we really need to go that far?
Okay, thank you.
So kind of just from a process standpoint, so if those requests would need to be submitted, this is just from a processing standpoint, not from a yes or no standpoint, but the request for, we would need an amount because there are administrative processes to go through on our budget software that we have to do, and also to appropriate requires just a resolution. So I mean, they would all look similar to this or what we did when we were at the 95%, but request would have to be submitted prior to the board agenda deadline on the amount you needed. And then also the chart of account number you need, because we do break it down as if we move forward like this, when you have to break out benefits, everything actually breaks down to an individual chart of account. So the request to the Board of Supervisors to get past the 90% on the operational side is what I'm going to use that language if that's appropriate with you guys to use the operational side.
Yeah.
Okay, so the operational side, because the salary lines will be at 100 if however this moves, we're talking on process. So each request from each department will need to be by COA and by amount, because we have to do the appropriation entry on the software like that. We would have a resolution before the board, just like these. It could be individually one, or it could be multiple, however that works, but that's the process. So through a normal chain, a budget amendments also need appropriations to spend. You can do an amendment without appropriation. Budget amendments require public hearing. Appropriation does not require the public hearing. So from a timing standpoint, it can be done in a meeting. It won't take two or the publishing threshold. So from administration standpoint, that's what it will
Yeah.
take.
Got it. Thank you.
Missy, does that answer your question? Missy just stated with a small budget, I normally have to use most of it, Department of One. I think the same thing.
We
I think
answered.
you've answered that.
Yep.
Yes, she says yes. Thank you.
So I'm going to make a motion to appropriate at 90% for expenses excluding salary and benefits.
Second.
All right, I need to just write it the right way. So appropriate 90% excluding salary and benefits.
Correct.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
All right.
Ramey.
Aye.
So I'll rework the resolution for signature.
Great. Thank you.
On to resolution 2023-66. The approval of the allocation for the loss fund for Junction 92. Tyler.
Yes, so just formality from, as a follow-up to last week's presentation, my budget proposal and the discussion we had regarding Junction 92, the additional funding from various sources. This is the formal resolution authorizing additional funds from lost for our Junction 92 project. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Item number 6, resolution 2023-67. To approve the allocation of the general fund from Junction 92. Do we have any discussion, board?
Same,
Same.
from
Yeah.
the general fund.
Yep.
This is a monumental thing for our department. And, in the essence of logistics today, I did not invite some staff that I think should have been a part of this. However, we will include them at the time of award a contract, possibly once we get to that point for our main shop. Because there's been a lot of departmental or some personnel that's been heavily involved with this process, not only in the last 3 years, but over the past couple decades to
Yep.
get us here. So thank you.
Excellent, Tyler. Motion to approve.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
On behalf of our department, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate all your work and your department, the hard work on it. Item number 7 is the reappointments of the Marion County Development Commission. I know Carla is gone. These are appointments that are currently serving. They're just reappointments.
Motion to approve these reappointments.
Second,
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs,
aye,
Ramey,
Aye.
Item number 8 is resolution 2023-69. It's the affidavit regarding the archaeological resource covenant for the BA property.
this
Counselor,
actually, yeah, this actually came from the attorney's office.
Jared.
Thank you. This came to our attention. This is an issue of clearing the title. Through our discussion, all of this work has been done. It just, when the title opinion was being done, there was just this piece of documentation that was missing. So this is merely just a formality to document the work that's already been done and to clear title.
Very good. Motion to approve.
second,
McCombs,
aye,
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
aye. Item number 9, Board of Supervisor updates. Mr. McCombs.
I think Tyler and I have a SERPTA meeting at 1. I think that's all I have right now.
All right.
Mr. Remy.
Yeah, mental health, continuing our changeover, our partnership with Heart of Iowa. The employees that were once part of the Cross region are now part of the Heart of Iowa region. We're going through some legal issues regarding the Access Center with the current provider. The board, Cross Board, decided to exercise the lien and take control of the property. And in the hopes that Heart of Iowa will be able to provide a better service platform. But that is all in process currently between boards.
I don't have any updates currently. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, everyone.
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
We'll come back because you got to sign.